Present.
Commissioner Fox,
Present.
Commissioner Herrera,
Present.
Commissioner Hupperts,
Present.
Commissioner Turner,
Present.
and I'm Commissioner Felton, I'm here. So the first item we have is approval of the agenda for tonight. And Ms. Mortensen tells me we have a change to make. That
We need to remove item 5.
Yeah, we're still waiting to hear from our attorney about that. So we'll go ahead and take item 5 off, the action item on appeal of record. So if there are any other changes that folks would like to see, go ahead and bring it up. Otherwise, a motion to approve the agenda, and we'll move ahead.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I would like to move that we approve the agenda, but remove item 5, action item appeal of record.
Is there a second?
And all second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So that takes us to approval of minutes, the draft Planning and Zoning Commission minutes for June 11th, the last meeting. If you guys have had a chance to look at them, see anything that needs correction, just go ahead and call attention to them, and let's get those approved.
Small thing. There's a typo, I believe, on page 3. The Chairman Felton introduced the next time. I think it's next item.
I
don't
might
know
have
why
a
I
problem.
caught that. I usually
Same-
don't catch
same
those little
letters.
things. But
I
I
have a
saw it
problem.
yesterday, but I could see that real easy.
Anything else? Whenever you're satisfied with them, or we've got all the corrections done that we have to make, just go ahead and make a motion to approve them.
I move that we approve these minutes with the minor correction on page 3.
We have a motion to approve with one correction. Is there a second?
I'll second. Yeah.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. So that takes us to item 4, which is a public hearing on a request for conditional use permit related to secondary quarters. An application from Robert Marquez for secondary quarters on 5.06 acres. The legal description is there. It's an area also known as 41 Windswept Road, Tract A4R, T11 North, R7 East, Section 34, in Edgewood. So the way this works for you guys, this is a quasi-judicial process where basically we're sort of serving like attorneys and judges to get all the facts out. You guys have a chance to, explain what you're proposing to do to us. The commissioners can ask questions. The staff will provide some information as well. If there was anyone here opposed to it, we would hear from them as well. Then we'll close it down. The commissioners will deliberate and then come back to hear any final comments you have before we reach a decision. Okay? So I'm going to start by asking staff to confirm that public notice of this public hearing has been given.
Yes, it has.
Okay. And then I'd like to ask each of the commissioners, one at a time, to affirm that they have no conflict of interest and have had no ex parte communication. So they haven't talked to anyone outside of this meeting about this proposal. So Commissioner Lee?
I have no conflict of interest in this matter, and I've had no discussions with anyone about the subject at all.
Okay. Commissioner Fox?
I have no conflict of interest or ex parte communications.
Commissioner Herrera?
And no conflict of interest and no discussions with anyone else.
Commissioner Huppert?
No ex parte and no conflict of interest.
Commissioner Turner?
I have no conflicts of interest and no ex parte contacts.
Okay, and I also have no conflict of interest in this matter, no ex parte communication. If there's anyone on this panel that you guys are unhappy with being part of this decision, you also have the right to ask that that person not participate, okay? So what we're going to do is swear people in, right? Before we hear your initial report taking us out. So if you guys are going to provide testimony, if you would go ahead and stand up. Not at this point. I think we're okay. And then just raise your right hand and say, do you solemnly, I'm going to ask you, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the responses given and statements made in this hearing before the Planning and Zoning Commission will be the whole truth and nothing but the truth? If so, answer, I do.
I do.
All right, good. So now we're going to move on to testimony. And first, we're going to hear from the town staff. Give us a little background on this.
Sure. So this secondary quarter will be for the mother-in-law, for I believe Teresa's mom. Is that correct? Oh, your mom. Okay. The secondary quarters will serve as a detached structure and will be no more than 850 square feet and will be used exclusively for living and sleeping purposes per the 2018-08 zoning ordinance section 12, conditional uses number 5. The secondary quarters will be on the primary residence septic system. There is a bit of confusion, and this was my fault. We had spoken during the TAC meeting. They had talked about attaching it to the septic system. There was a little back and forth, but they decided, after speaking to York, to go with a separate one. I didn't have a problem with that, because after all of the secondary quarter discussion, for some reason, I thought it was in our ordinance that they could do either one. When I started to do my staff report, I was like, whoa, that's not in there. So I called them, told them I'm really sorry, but this is what you're going to have to do, which what they originally wanted to do anyway. So it will be on the primary residence septic system. The secondary quarters will permit through CID, Manufactured Housing Division, for the permanent foundation. The secondary quarters will use the same driveway and road used to access the primary dwelling. Wet and dry utilities are already present on the property because of the primary residence. Zoning for 41 Windswept is R2 residential 2-acre lot. The Technical Advisory Committee met on June 18th, 2019. In attendance was myself, Tim Dvorak, Renee Nix, and Wallace Starks from Santa Fe County, Robert and Teresa Marquez. The Technical Advisory Committee found no issues with the proposed conditional use permit application for secondary quarters. The second dwelling will house Mr. Marcus's mother, not Mrs. We did not have any calls regarding this application at the time that I did the staff report. However, I did receive an email late yesterday from a neighbor asking multiple questions about what type of house, where it was going to be. Was it they're going to create noise? Were they going to have more pets? I answered all the questions, sent them the site plan, told them that we don't ask about pets during our review. So there was that, and they wanted to make sure that the secondary home was going to be placed on the north side of the property, not the south, because there's a slope on that side, and that's the whole reason of why they're putting the home where it's at, because of the topography. So the neighbor was fine with that after I spoke to her. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much. All right, so we have all the documents we need in our packets,
Yes.
and everybody's had a chance to give them a look anyway.
Yes.
So at this point, I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to go ahead and make an opening statement or presentation. Tell us a little bit about what you're proposing to do. You can point to things on your site plan and help us understand what it is you want to do, and we'll try to determine if it's doable within the town's ordinances.
Okay. You can see the main house and the driveway. Anything from this side down slopes drastically. I mean, by the time you get to the middle, it's probably 20 or 30 foot dip. So we don't want to put anything on that side. Too much structural, having to keep it straight. This part is pretty much flat. I mean, we have 2 or 3 inch grade, but all the way from here to the driveway, about this point, pretty good. And mow it is really flat, looks really nice. And so yeah, just a small house for my mom to live in. She's currently living with us now. So it's not going to change. The amount of people that are there, the amount of vehicles, she has one little chihuahua, so.
And you're not building a separate house for future chihuahuas, like, that's it.
Only have one. She's 73 years old, but she's still very active and still working and doing her thing. So she doesn't feel like she wants to encroach on our space, and she wants to have her own space. So, and she can afford it, so I have no problem.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and we heard about this, that you guys were allowing 850 square foot. That was the only problem, was trying to find something 850 square foot. Initially we wanted to build a site-built house, but there was so much involved, it was just easier just to buy a mobile home and put it on. It's going to be a brand new setup, not used. In fact, they haven't even built it. Once we get the okay from the town, and we'll go ahead and start the paperwork to have it built. So the paperwork to that showing the actual mobile home isn't the exact one, the exact size, but not the one we're building, because we're moving, we had a porch on it or something, we're going to move the porch and add an extra bathroom. She's under the assumption that somebody may want to come live with her one day, so she needs 2 bathrooms and 2 bedrooms. She's not by herself. Everybody's doing their own thing. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's maybe 40 or 50 feet from the main house. There's plenty of driveway space and plenty of opening. From what I understand from the septic people that are in the field, maybe actually the tank in the front, and then the line's going to go from there to the leach field. So it has its own tank, but the leach field is going to be tied into our leach field, and we're going to expand it and make it to whatever the new specs are for this year. Yeah, I'm under the assumption it was smaller, like 450 was all required, now it's 6 to 750.
It's called a cluster area officers.
It's called a cluster center.
Okay.
So we talked to York, and we said, they initially said, yeah, we'd probably do a cluster. And then we talked to the people in Albuquerque that submit the permit, and they said, yes, a cluster would be the best way around it. How we don't destroy all this area trying to make a leach field in front by the street and stuff. So all these fields, basically our sewer tank is here, and then all this sloping area is leach field.
Okay.
So we won't be encroaching on anybody's area or property near the street. Seems pretty much cut and dry. Any questions?
Will any of the leach field go under your driveway and turn around?
No, just the main pipe. So I guess they're going to have like regular 4-inch sewer pipe, and then all the liquid is going to go through the toilets or leach field, and then disperse it out. And there's, like I said, plenty of slopes, so there's not going to be a problem with flow. It's all going to come from there.
So that pipe doesn't go direct to the leach field though, right? It goes to the tank and then the tank to the leach field? Yeah,
From the new tank we're putting in
yeah,
to our tank, and
Yeah.
it uses our leach field to expand.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming all that's going to that pipe is liquid.
Oh.
Solids are still going to be caught in the main tank. It's not
I see.
in the house. All it is liquids to leach out into the field, but it has to go into ours and then disperse it.
so it's like 2 tanks with 1 leach field, 2 tanks sharing a leach field?
Expanded.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And they, the town board, the city of Albuquerque is going to give the permit now. When I called them, they said that's definitely legal and everything's the best. For what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Was that NMED in Albuquerque? Okay, all right.
But York had also suggested that, and hold it there, but they don't lock that system.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Other questions? Commissioner Huppert?
I have a question. Is your main house a stick-built or is it a manufactured?
It's also manufactured.
It's also
on a permanent-
manufactured. Okay. And what about the surrounding neighbors and stuff? Are they manufactured or
They're all
mixed? or-
manufactured.
They're all
There's
manufactured?
one off to this side that looks like a stick-built package.
Okay.
Other than that, I think all the stuff.
Okay. Just want to make sure he's sort of fit in the neighborhood.
Which way is north here? Is up north?
This will be the north side.
North side that?
Okay.
Okay. And so then the wooded side or the sloped side is the south side?
Yes.
And the main road is where?
It would be down here.
Left to right? Yeah. Okay.
And it goes to a cul-de-sac, so there's not much traffic.
Yeah. I think I saw that on one of the photos here where it showed all the different tracks. I live on a cul-de-sac too, similar. Other questions, commissioners?
Question for Tanya.
Mr. Chairman, I had a question for the applicants. Sir, have you confirmed with York the grade, that they're not going to have a problem with installing to get the flow, or?
We said the only problem they may run into is I have a lot of trees in the property, they're planning on have to remove some trees.
Oh, okay.
Right
Yeah,
now.
they're small trees, they're not, we haven't been there that long.
Other than that, there's everything.
Thank you.
What else? Anything else?
Yeah, I've got a question. You mentioned mobile home, but I looked at it online. It looks more like, isn't it a kind of a modular that'll be on a foundation? It's got wheels?
I did repairing, making it look as nice as I can. I appreciate that. And it'll look like a mobile home. But yeah, I put shutters on it, and we can do the porch, the trees, and just really looks.
Oh,
nice.
okay.
But it is definitely, as I call it, it has a strip in the middle and two strips on the sides, and a lot.
Oh, okay.
Skirt.
Cover the bottom of
Skirting?
Yeah.
It's like a skirting.
Skirting. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Solid. Really nice. Whoever built it did a good job. I appreciate that, because I had to call another machine over the ductwork, and it would have been a mess. Under some, it was just
yeah,
nice and clean.
Good.
right. Yes, Commissioner Herrera.
So she'll be there and she'll have her own electricity,
Yes.
water.
We talked to all the utility companies, and they all say we have enough power to tie in, and enough water pressure to tie into our existing. That way we don't have to have 2 meters for every utility.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, as long as it's not 1 meter, we just tap into each.
Okay,
Huh?
One thing it's on its own, will be the septic.
okay, thank you.
But it's tied into our,
Right.
Right, yeah.
That's nice.
Mhm. Well, we can, if no one has other questions for the applicant, we can move to the next phase of this and deliberate among ourselves and talk to staff. Do you have a question?
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So when you spoke to NMED, did they provide you with any written response? Perfect. Can you send that to me? Okay, thank you. That's all I had.
Okay. And someone, well, Commissioner Huppert's has a question for you, but we'll get to that phase in just a minute. And anything else? No? I don't have any other
No,
questions.
Thank you.
Okay. So now opponents of the matter can speak, and since there are none here, unless they're invisible, I think we'll move to the final staff report.
Okay.
And then we can ask you some questions and deliberate.
Okay. This proposed application for a conditional use permit for secondary quarters meets all requirements for secondary quarters in R2 zoning as stated in the Town of Edgewood zoning ordinance 2018-08. Staff recommends approval. However, the applicant must provide a letter and permit from NMED proving that modification of the septic system has been completed or that the current septic system is large enough to hold a second dwelling. So, that's all I have.
And you had a question for Tanya?
Yes, when we were originally discussing the secondary housing, I don't believe we discussed septic tanks that are designed like this, complex.
Cluster?
Cluster, yeah. So, I guess I was debating if that's the best way for them to have the two tanks, or to just run the line straight to the other tank.
Well, I think maybe where we may have made a mistake is not finding out different types of modifications.
Yeah.
And it sounds like this may be, a cluster may be a type of modification.
I think that when we do look at our ordinance, we might want to add that wordage in there so that
Yeah.
will be clear, a little more clear.
You can ask the staff questions too, if you have any.
I was just letting you know that for the future, like if other people want to do that, I guess that would be. I know we're like the first one.
You're the very first.
Yeah.
It was the first one we
Yeah.
heard, and we hadn't heard of cluster septic tanks. So,
York knew about it, and then when I called,
NMED?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me about it. Oh, York didn't know this. But, he's the one that gets the permit, so he was saying,
Right.
yeah, this is the best way to go, because we're just running into the leaks, we still be running into them, but they're just gonna make it bigger, of course.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
had all this information before he looked to see what was the best option.
So they have to expand the leach field a little
Yes.
bit? Yeah.
Because now the amount of water, it's like we were saying, 375 gallons per day, our system is capable of doing. So because you got two more bedrooms on the system.
In the kitchen,
they have
yeah,
to go
and
into the
bathrooms.
leach field, has to be enough.
Right.
And there's plenty of room, we've
Okay, good. So you can also make a closing statement if there's anything else you want to say before we deliberate and make a decision.
I just, this is our first time having any type of experience with this. We've never even met our council people. We've been here, I don't know, for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
But I guess maybe because we've never had an issue where we needed to talk to you. That's nice to have you meet all of you, see who you are.
But, yeah, he's a good son for his mom, so.
That's important.
Right. Well, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say, our
Sure.
meetings and the town council meetings are free, open to the public, and they've got pretty good air conditioning in here when it's hot. We don't have air conditioning at my house, so I like to come to meetings.
My swamp cooler's dripping on my roof, so I may start hanging out here until I get that
You
remedy.
guys need to serve snacks.
Yeah, there you go.
And you get a lot of people coming in.
Well, if there are no further questions and you don't have anything in the way of a closing statement, you've pretty much covered everything. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Public hearing's now closed. The commissioners can now deliberate any questions or discussion among ourselves, and then we can try to reach a decision. And, if it's as easy as you guys think this one can just go ahead and there's really not a lot of deliberation to have, motion is always welcome.
Yeah, I looked at it online, overhead Google map, they've got plenty of room. The land's all clear around them, it's not gonna be crowding anybody. And I looked at that modular and it looked like a really nice one. It's not gonna hurt the neighborhood any, and I think it's a good fit.
Yes, Commissioner Turner.
I would agree that it's a good fit with the neighborhood, and it seems to fall within the intent of the ordinance on this. The cluster septic system is really interesting, and I would agree with the applicant that, we need to hear more about that in the ordinance. But back to this matter, I think everything seems to be in order as far as compliance with the ordinance, and the only thing that still needs to come in is the letter and permit from the NMED. So you are recommending, if I'm reading between the lines properly, that you are recommending a conditional approval stipulating that?
Yes.
I have a question for Tanya. Tanya, it seems to me that there's, looking at the ordinance, there's nothing, if we agree to this, there's nothing precedent-setting about doing that. It's all within what's allowed.
Yes, it is, and that's why I referred to the ordinance throughout my staff report. The reason that I said that that needs to come in, the letter from them and the permit saying that the modification was done, it just needs to be in the file. So in the future, when we have to go back to anything, if we have to refer back to our first one, here's everything that was done. It went right along with the ordinance. Everything was checked.
Well, I'd like to make the motion that we approve the application for conditional use permit for Robert Marcus and Terry Marcus for the secondary housing on 41 Windswept Road.
May I offer a friendly addition to your motion, Commissioner?
Yes.
That we include that the approval will be conditional upon the applicants providing a letter and permit from NMED showing the modifications have been completed.
I'll second that motion.
So we have a motion and a second. We're going to do this by roll call vote. And Commissioner Lee, because there is no tie for you to break tonight,
Correct.
I'm going to skip you. Thank you for your willingness to do that, though, should it have come up.
I enjoy the meetings a lot more this way.
No pressure, huh?
No pressure.
So Commissioner Fox, how do you vote on it?
I vote that we approve the application.
Okay. Commissioner Herrera,
Aye.
Commissioner Huppertz,
Aye.
Commissioner Turner,
Aye.
and I also would vote in favor of it, aye. Okay? Best of luck to you.
We're
Thank you
glad
for
that this
working with
worked out
us.
for you guys.
Very nice.
Whatever you guys need to do, until we got it done.
Thank you.
Thank you. It'll be real
Thank you.
nice.
So much.
Yeah, you
Okay.
too.
Glad this helped you out.
Does anybody need a break before we move on?
Do you have any water, any more water back there, or are you out? That's okay.
We won't have any till July 1st.
Oh, a budget thing, huh?
Yes.
I made myself a bottle of SodaStream sparkling water and then ran out the door without it. Duh.
I thought about filling my hydro flask, and that's as far as it went.
All right, well then we'll keep moving along. We had an item on the agenda next that we took out, so that takes us to a discussion item, Section 8 Development Review. Uh-oh, I see lots of red crossouts.
I hope your packets came out red, didn't they? Did they, or did they not?
Yeah,
Do you have the red lines on them?
Let's see,
yeah.
Okay, good.
yeah. So do you want to fill us in on this one?
So when I first started here, I noticed that our development review was a little weak. And even with the changes that I've put in here, I do think we still need some more. But this is the beginning. I just added some language that, planning and zoning official, I need to change that. Wherever it says that, I need to say administrator, so I'll change that up there. Before applying for a state building permit through Construction Industry Division, CID, that's always, there's so many people that don't know what the state is. They don't know what it's called. They just call it the state, or they don't have any idea at all. So I stuck that in there. Manufactured home placement permit, it's not an installation, shall be obtained from the Planning and Zoning Office before applying for a foundation permit from CID Manufactured Housing Division. Elevation certificates are required for all structures built or placed in designated floodplain within the town. So that was still in there. Under development plans, number 1, it says a map to scale. There's going to be so many people that can't do a map to scale. They can't afford it or whatever, and we don't really need it to scale. As long as they have the measurements in there that shows us how far things are and where the setbacks are, that's good enough for me. Let's see. The location, width, and length of existing or proposed driveway. Driveways must be, not but, hold on. Good grief. Does someone need new glasses? Yes. Be at least 14 feet wide, and if 150 feet or longer, it must have a turnaround or hammerhead for emergency vehicles. I'm sure that wording could use some work. We'll work on that. So the location and dimensions of all contiguous, I can't even, you guys, I need new glasses. Streets or roads, on-site utility easements, including in indicating their purpose, location of septic system, and leach field. Parking loading areas, if we have commercial. So no changes on 3, 4, and 5. The review process, the important part down here, we changed the completed development plan shall be returned to the applicant within 7 working days, and sometimes that's not even enough. Because part of our review is held up by Santa Fe County and how busy she is. So there are times that it's a week and a half, but I thought at least if we had 7 working days, that might help. Because 3 was ridiculous. And then you get 3 weeks for commercial. So I changed it to 7.
Would 10 working days be more?
I would like 10, yeah. And I don't think it would ever be that long, but let's change it to 10. You may have to type because
Have you ever put 7 to 10?
yeah, we'll do 10, and then if we get it done sooner, then we just look like we're awesome.
I think it's better to have the higher number and bring them in sooner than to do it the other way. If you're
Yeah.
constantly overshooting, that's a sign that
Yeah.
7 isn't enough.
Then applications may also require reviews by the Technical Advisory Committee. The TAC may include representatives as appropriate from all town departments, as well as Santa Fe County Fire Department, and any other regional, state, or federal agencies or persons possessing necessary technical expertise. I also would like to put something in there about permits expiring. We need something in there that if nothing has been, I don't know what the wording would be, actively worked on or anything done at all, then the permit expires and they have to start over.
Have you looked in the language for preliminary plat extensions?
I did not look. I mean, I know that they have a year thing there.
But they have some stuff about making progress. There, you might find a good starting place with that language to see if it's applicable, or at least that might give you a place to go from there.
Yeah, those seem like two different things, too. Is the concern that people, get all the permitting completed and then do nothing, and everyone loses track of who's permitted to do what?
Well, yeah, what happened is, like, the school modular, for one thing, the guy just dumped it there and then disappeared, never to be heard from again. So we finally did a cease and desist. There's a lot that has come out of that, even more than just the building itself. But when we heard that water was being taken there, we went out and put a sign right away so they couldn't come onto the property, because then that's encroaching. But doing further homework on that area, there's a lot going on. So that was one of the biggest issues, because we didn't have language in there saying that the permit has expired. We have nothing to back us. So when I talked to the lawyer, he said that because I'm the administrator, I can call it. It's an abandoned building at this point. So that's what we're using. I had another gentleman come in, I believe it was last week. He had a permit from 2013.
I believe so.
I think it was 2013. He hadn't done anything on it, and he wanted to just begin again. Like, we're starting over at this point. We have a whole new application and all new things. Pretty upset, but you can't get permitted something in 2013 and then have to just continue it in 2019. Like, haven't even looked at it. I don't even know what it is. So we need to have something in there that
So,
covers it.
I wonder if it has to be something like a project that is permitted and then not initiated, or no work is initiated for X amount of time, or a work stoppage of more than, both of those would be considered, forfeiting your permit.
Yeah.
Could you handle those in one paragraph, or do they have to be two separate
I
things?
think we could do it in one.
Because otherwise you have people getting permitting, and then they don't do anything for 2.5 years. Now they've got all new neighbors, and,
Right.
suddenly they're building a barn, and everybody goes, what the heck?
Yeah.
Maybe
Well, in the
even
ordinance and
the
the
ordinances.
Yeah.
state requirements, code requirements
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
change. And these things are subject to inspection
Right,
Yeah.
in the building code requirements, so.
yeah, that's reasonable. So where would that fit? That would be like, it's probably its own section D, huh?
Expiration of permits.
Sure.
It doesn't really fit under A, B, or C. very-
No, I think it's its own thing, yeah, but the permits
You want a section D?
expire
Yeah,
after a
section
certain amount of time. I don't even think, I think a year seems awful
Yeah.
long for someone to
It's
start on
like
something that they
lifespan
pulled
of
in.
permit.
Yeah. What do we want to call section D? Lifespan?
Oh, I wouldn't call it.
Oh.
Expiration of permit.
Expiration of permit.
Expiration of
Yeah.
permit, okay.
Oh, shit.
That's not your glasses doing that.
No,
Are we going to get a new
yeah,
word for the wall?
yep, I do need another word. Okay, anyway, let's continue. Oh, jeez. It's,
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
it
Did
is
you
not my
just say
vowel day.
expectoration of permit?
No, it was exploration, actually.
Exploration.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I have a question for Tanya. This is the second meeting we have discussed the Technical Advisory Committee, and it's rolled. I haven't a clue as to who's on the Technical Advisory Committee. Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Did we get a list of the people that's on there?
Yeah, it's actually in the staff report for our public hearing that we just had. It is myself and code enforcement. It can be Norton Henninger from the road department, Santa Fe County Fire. It could be a surveyor.
Is that the lady that comes down to
Yes.
inspect? Okay.
Yeah, it can be a surveyor, it's the applicants or the applicant's representative. It could be somebody from CID. I've had Mike Linz there before. It just depends on what we're dealing with. We could have the town engineers there, we could have a town attorney. So that's why when we say in there, other regional, state, or federal agency, or persons possessing necessary technical expertise. So we could have a huge panel of people.
It sounds like, depending on the project, it's ad hoc to that project.
It is.
Okay, so there's
So-
not a fixed,
No, it's, I mean, we'll always be there.
Yeah, there's a
And Santa
core.
Fe County Fire will always
Right,
be there.
there's a
yeah.
core of people, but
Yeah,
then there's.
but, I mean, we may have NMED there, we might have, Mike Butler from wastewater. So it just depends on what's happening,
okay,
in the application.
okay, because it sounded like it wasn't a fixed name,
Yeah, it,
expiration date like we have, you know,
Yeah.
for commissioners and
Mhm.
such.
yeah. So where are we at?
Well, you
So
wanna work on
expiration
this
of
on your own?
permit.
Just as long as the word forfeiture's in there. I like the word forfeiture. Or forfeited.
Well, maybe we could call it forfeiture permit.
Forfeiture permit?
They don't
That's-
expire if you're continuing to work,
Oh,
right?
sorry.
No, you're fine.
You can take 2 years to build the thing that you said you're gonna build, as long as you're not going like 90 days with nothing going on.
We usually just have, so when I do my permits now, I put on there little blurbs of, you know, that their driveway has to be 14 feet wide. And then I also put on there permit expires. And I put for a year to the day. So, but we would allow them to come in and ask for an extension if they need it. So we can also put that language in there as well.
Right. I think the stuff from the preliminary plat would apply to extensions, because that's pretty general language about the fact that you've shown progress. You've actually shown that active work. Because if you go out and find out they haven't done a driveway, they haven't turned any dirt, that's not progress.
Yeah, if they've done nothing, I don't think that it should be considered an extension.
Yeah.
Is this applying to just manufactured, or is it also applying to homes, people building a house?
It applies to any type of development
Okay, because
permit.
it talked about multiple of these. Okay.
The state, when we do something, when we don't do something we're twisting, they call us and say you're on the inactive list, and if you don't do something in 30 days, we're pulling all your money.
Oh, wow.
That is might be something,
Yeah.
although that would require you to go through all active permits regularly and
Yeah.
Right.
send a blast,
And I
so.
guess it's their heads up, they have us on some sort of list and say, we gave you this award 360 days ago, if you don't do something within 30 days, you're inactive now, and you're 30 days to do something, or we'll just pull it.
Yeah, I don't know, is that something you're staffed to do? You'd need some sort of a tickler file to track things.
Yeah. And we could, I mean, we could figure it out.
Yeah,
We
definitely.
do drive-bys daily now.
Does the letter you send someone with a permit need to be certified?
Oh, yeah, we certify almost all of our mail.
And then can I ask you another question? Everybody does development, when you run from a home to a subdivision to a commercial building.
a shed.
Everyone goes through this process?
Yes.
Is it the same price for everyone?
Not for the fire impact fee, no. For the review, yes, it's $100.
So no matter if you're doing it for Walmart or a resident, it's still the same price?
Yes, and we probably should change that. We need some impact fees, not just fire, but I think not so much when it comes to one home or a shed, but when it comes to a commercial area, we need some impact fees.
Well, you're not going to turn around a 10-day permit if Walmart comes in and applies for a development.
You have 3 weeks for commercial.
Yeah, I mean, you could spend a year on grading and drainage.
Oh, yeah.
Something as big as Walmart. They're not going to get an okay for a year to
Mhm.
build.
Yeah.
Carla, could I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Were you suggesting that just the fee for the development
yeah.
review be changed, not necessarily the impact fee, but to say,
No, I think just the fee for the development.
Pay up
would be
front.
different for.
Well, we have engineering fees that we'd be recouped for
On grading and drainage.
on grading and
But I
drainage,
just
yeah.
think initially the application fee should be different.
I agree.
You do a whole different amount of work for commercial.
You have a lot more time to do
Yeah.
something like
Subdivision, you
Walmart.
do for a single.
But as it stands right now, it's $100.
And then, you can't turn around a 3-week commercial development review if it's substantial.
Yeah. I don't know why it was in there, but the 3-day one was killing us.
You gotta be for small commercial.
Yeah.
And then
And commercial, you go into grading and grading.
We need to have-
You're not putting anything that is under 2 or 3 months.
Is there a separate fee schedule for this?
We do have a fee schedule, and development review is on there, and it says $100. We actually just got that passed a few months ago to raise the fee. It was $50.
I would say hold that for future reference. Keep it, you don't want to go too far too fast.
Yeah.
You just do so much work on subdivision.
Okay, so what was the language we were using on forfeiture of permit? In the event that a permit
That,
Comes in active.
becomes inactive, yeah.
well, that a project
Yeah, project, sorry.
is not initiated within so many days from permitting, or there is a period of work stoppage that exceeds however many days.
Yeah, it's true, because if you're looking at the school model, the project was initiated, then we stopped.
I'm just writing it generally for the.
Yeah, and then fix it up later. Or there's a work stoppage that exceeds. Is that what happened with this module?
It was dropped off, and that was the end of it.
What is this anyway? Did I miss this?
it's right across from Cheryl, her house.
Oh,
It's like
lovely.
the sore point.
It's a modular.
It's a modular
something.
building that just was dumped.
It looks like a school modular building.
Yeah, that's what it is. And you
Rundown.
can, you
A
can
school
turn that
module,
into
like
a home.
It has a bell on it or something?
Square.
No, it's like
No.
one of those,
Modular buildings they pull in by
yeah,
schools.
that they, when they
Like-
run out of room.
Oh,
Yeah,
like the
that all
things that were-
Albuquerque schools,
you know,
yeah,
the old-
what,
the old,
yes, used to be.
Yeah,
But these are, this is run down. It's not
Yeah.
nice like that.
So according to CID, they can definitely turn that into a home. And the plans that the gentleman had to turn into a home looked great. It would be a pretty decent looking home. It would look like a manufactured home, basically.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a little more to stipulations that were put in that master plan for that area that is not communicated.
Wow.
Ooh.
Just throwing verbiage in there to.
Yeah, that's
see
good.
if it might work.
Yeah, you guys can wordsmith it
Yeah.
the way that works for you.
Yeah.
That's what I do too.
I guess I'd like to know what happens if they say the permit runs out, we have all that in there, it's been over there, if it's a year, whatever we put in.
What's the next
What's
steps,
the next
required
step?
next
Does
steps?
the town, does that man that person have to move what they pulled in if it's a modular?
So,
The town's gonna have to do it and put a lien on the
We might.
property, or what's gonna happen?
so you send out a letter to the property owner. Sometimes it's two different people that, one owns the modular and one owns the property, but it goes to the property owner. There's an abandoned building on your property, it must be moved within 60 days. Or the town will do it, which I don't even know what we would do with it. And we will lien the property.
Sell it off the property, couldn't
yeah.
you?
That one's a rough one. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a sticky situation, so that's why that one's taking a little longer. There's a lot.
so did you also want to say something explicitly about the period of a permit, like permits are granted for 1 year?
Yes.
You might say it here and just change the title of D from forfeiture to, although I like the word forfeiture, to just, I don't know how you would say it, like permitting period,
Duration of permit?
duration of permit.
Yeah, we could do it like with a slash, duration of permit
Yes,
slash forfeiture.
duration of permits / forfeiture, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you can
Yeah.
treat both things here, and everybody
Yeah.
knows what they're dealing with. You pull a permit, get it done in a year. If you stop for 90 days or whatever, somebody's going to question you. I knew somebody who built a house once on credit cards, and it took him years to build it. It was like a little bit, max it out, get another credit card, max it out, get another one, max it out.
Oh, my gosh.
It was a straw bale house, too. So the straw was rotting while he was trying to get it closed. There can be serious problems with taking too long to build.
Yeah. Is there anything else you can think of that we need to add there?
I guess our enforcement part seemed like should be part of this, like how does that enforced? I mean, like you get a notice, like you mentioned.
Right, the whole process of it.
Isn't there an enforcement section later in the ordinance?
There is, and we need to revisit that and make sure that the right wording's in there for something like this.
Like a review within, or a site.
Site visits, yeah. If we had our own building official, it'd be a lot easier. Because they'd be the ones doing the inspections. Oh, this is a good starting point, so
There's another phrase that we use in construction. It's like substantial completion or substantial
Yes.
progress.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Substantial.
that's a
If
good
a-
word. to use.
If a place gets, like a school building, gets substantial completion, that means that they've agreed that their general contractor is done and they can pay them, but they're not really done. They're not ready to move. You can't, general contractor still has maybe some windows to put in and, little things, but substantially it's complete. So you might consider that.
So we could say something like, for substantial completion or substantial progress, a permit may be extended with
Yes.
permission from the planning and zoning
Yeah,
officer.
they're making some substantial
Yeah.
effort. Effective word, though.
Oh, it is true. That's why you'd want to review it, like,
Extended
put eyes on and.
by the planning and zoning office. All right, well, we'll wordsmith it a little more and then bring it back.
Okay. We move on then?
Yeah.
Public comment? Just Carla. She's already said her piece. A very valuable piece, too. Matters from the chair and commission members. I really don't have anything new tonight. Anybody else? Any updates or newsworthy items?
No.
Okay.
This, the subject matter of this meeting was a lot more pleasant than the last time we had to do this.
Yes.
Yeah,
That one was pretty stressful, where this one wasn't.
and we've learned something about the ordinance, too. There's still twists and turns in it.
Yeah.
Right.
Now we
I
know
think
we've
we
got to
should-
put some,
Matter of fact, we should
You know,
look
if-
next,
If two things have to be pumped, is that a new thing, or is that a modification of the existing
We
thing.
can definitely have,
We'll take another look at it.
maybe Jean come in and
Yeah.
give us a little,
That's a
or
good
even
idea.
Mike. I'm sure Mike
Yeah.
Butler knows.
That's a good
Sure.
idea.
Yeah, this cluster pot thing sounds good because it's a way in difficult situations to stay with the intent of the ordinance.
Yeah,
Get a proper definition, like how is it defined?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Actually, do have a couple of comments. I sent an email to my butler while I was sitting there saying, reminding Mark to talk to you about cluster septic.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe we
Thank
need
you.
to talk about that on our next agenda, and if we need to amend our ordinance, we need to
Yeah.
get that done.
Okay.
You'll want to put that on the list.
Well, and the concern, I mean, we thought about this going into it. We tried to structure the ordinance in a way that basically secondary housing could not be sort of surreptitious B and B or an apartment. You know, in Albuquerque, it wasn't their actual ordinance, but a policy statement on it. They just came right out and said, no apartments.
Yeah.
And we chose not to say that. But I think the intent of the thing is still, you don't want people to basically be subdividing without subdividing.
Right.
If you want a second house on your property, 5 acres with 2 separate septics, subdivide, right?
Right, exactly.
Do tiny homes fall under, I mean, I know it's a whole, those
I
are,
want one.
they're here.
That's something else that we need to visit. We need to say, you can't live in a shipping container. You can't have a business in a shipping container. You can't have a business in a Graceland shed. No tiny homes. And no vintage mobile homes either. These are all things that I've heard.
I think Cedar Crest.
Yeah, they should all go there. All of them.
But there are some nice tiny homes.
Yeah, there are.
I have one, but I can't fit my drum set
But
in it.
everyone wants to live in a Graceland shed. That's their tiny home. That is their go-to tiny home.
The Graceland.
But I think this P and Z committee will eventually have to address it if they start
Yes.
developing any of the land developments across the road over there, the big ones. There will be apartments, or at least,
I'm okay with apartments. I am not okay with
well,
anyone living in a
but the
shed.
apartments will all have to figure out how to tie into septic or a sewer system or something like that.
Yeah.
So some of these issues we're going to eventually,
We are.
So you're
I'll answer it.
discriminating against yurts, is what you're saying, right? And shipping containers.
Yes. I really am not on board with anyone living in a shipping container.
That's kind of odd.
But I had that call.
Is it even like legal to have someone live in a?
There's ways to do it, but what I told the lady, I was like, I don't even have anything in the ordinance that I can tell you anything about. You need to call CID, but at that point, I'm telling you, I was like, we gotta ban them. Let's ban them.
Can we put somewhere that we ban those?
We can say
Which
that
ordinance would we put that in, or
zoning
zoning? Well, then we probably should get that in there.
in every
That's what-
single
If it's legal to
residential
put
part.
it in there.
Add it to the list.
Yeah, if we
You're
could
going to have
assign
a
it.
staff.
I know.
Yeah, all right.
containers you can buy for $1,000,
Yeah.
$2,000.
I mean, you can
So
really,
it could really be a problem.
yeah,
Time
and that's
to
why
review
so
the
many
ordinance
people
Those
are.
again.
containers
I
are
didn't
not
know that.
expensive. yeah.
We had a call the other day that somebody wanted to put a business in shipping containers. What? You know what that's gonna look like? Terrible.
It's a hipster trend.
It is a hipster trend.
Is it?
And if it looked like, what is it, the green
Yeah,
jeans
green
or
jeans
whatever?
and
I was just
Albuquerque.
thinking maybe.
Yeah.
But if you're just plopping one down and opening the door and saying, come on in, no, that's gonna, and where they want to put it is just like right off the exit. Welcome.
Well, they can't be broken into, they can't, nobody can't look in.
No ventilation, where you can.
Inventory can be in there easily and all, yes.
Yeah, no,
Very strange.
yeah,
If it was a railroad town, I could see it.
right.
All right, nothing else from the chair or commission members? We got a little sidetracked there. but
Yeah.
It sounds like we're
I think
looking
it's a
at
good
the ordinance
discussion.
again soon. Matters from staff besides what we just talked about?
No, just the July 12th is, I think, still up in the air, so we'll know more about that. I'll probably have to
Class.
send out an email.
Okay.
Parliamentary.
This is the parliamentary thing? I
Yeah,
have it
I
on my
don't think they
calendar, but do
decided,
we have a
did they,
time on
Carla?
that? Not yet?
Yeah, she said 11.
Did they decide at the last meeting if that's a for sure, we're doing July 12th for parliamentary? Parliamentary training?
No, we didn't decide for sure.
Okay.
Because I haven't been approved off work yet, but I'm thinking I'm pretty sure I can, but still waiting. Yeah.
So we were talking about 11 to 5, somebody just said?
Yeah.
Lunch provided?
I didn't have a
Provided.
time on it yet, I'll add a time.
It's on a weekday.
Yeah, it's a Friday.
The day before that, Sunday.
It is. That's all I have.
Isn't it funny how matters from the staff bleeds right into calendar?
I know.
It does that a lot.
It does.
So the next P and Z meeting is July 9th. And what we have on there is going to be discussion/action on an industrial zone. We'll
I'm just
see.
going to keep putting that till we get it
Yeah.
done.
This is printed out.
Commissioner reference guide,
Put it in stuff.
findings of fact from the current public hearing that we
Yes.
just did. And then development review again.
Yeah.
So fairly manageable.
Yes.
So just real quick, and I know you guys don't want to do this, but a building permit in the state is valid for 1 year, and construction has to be completed in 180 days.
Got to follow something similar. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
180 days, they got to start doing something. I like that.
That's a pretty good
Would
long
be kind of
time.
following something that the state already has for buildings.
Sometimes you get finance,
Yeah,
your financial things get done.
that's like half of the year that you have. on it.
I have to
That's very
say,
generous.
Yeah.
I have to say, working with staff that answer your questions almost before you ask them is amazing. Thank you.
Anything else that needs to be added to a future agenda that, no, we're good for now?
I think we're good for now.
All right. So then all we need to finish this up is a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I move we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have 2 seconds, motion and a second.
Who got it?
Commissioner
Give it to
Fox
Steve.
and Commissioner Hubbard's immediately on his heels. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're adjourned.